The evening sun glows faintly over Ridgewood Heights, a quiet neighborhood where lawns are neat and the silence feels rehearsed. A sleek gray sedan glides down the street. Behind the wheel sits Marcus Hale, a tall man in his early 40s, calm eyes behind thin-rimmed glasses. He's wearing dark jeans, a crisp gray sweater, and the tired grace of someone who's carried authority for years. He's off duty today. No badge, no uniform, just Marcus heading to his sister's house for Sunday dinner. His GPS hums softly. Turn right in 200 feet. He exhales, smiling faintly. 10 more minutes, he murmurs. As he drives through the winding streets, Marcus notices curtains shifting. A jogger slows, glancing his way. A woman walking her dog crosses the street, clutching her purse tighter. It's subtle, but it's familiar. The quiet suspicion he's known all his life. He keeps his hand steady on the wheel, posture upright. After 20 years in law enforcement, Marcus knows this feeling by name. It's the look that says you don't belong. In the distance, a police cruiser idles at a stop sign. Lights off, engine low. Inside are Officer Kent and Officer Miller, partners for nearly 4 years, both seasoned enough to think they've seen everything. Kent taps his fingers on the steering wheel. Got a call earlier, he mutters. Suspicious vehicle in the area. Black male driver, mid-40s, gray car. Miller glances at the dispatch screen. Matches that guy right there. They trail behind Marcus, slow, silent, the tension in their car thickening. Inside his sedan, Marcus spots them in the rearview mirror. The faint red-blue reflection flickers across his windshield. He straightens, pulse rising slightly. He's taught hundreds of officers how to conduct a lawful stop. He knows the drill better than anyone. He signals, pulls calmly to the curb and rests both hands on the steering wheel, exactly the way he's trained civilians to do. Stay calm, he tells himself. It's just another traffic stop. The patrol car halts behind him. Doors open. Gravel crunches under boots. 2 silhouettes approach, one on each side. The familiar tension hangs heavy in the air, a silence that says too much. Kent appears at the driver's window, hand already hovering near his holster. License and registration, he says flatly. No greeting, no reason. Marcus turns slowly, voice even. Good evening, officer. May I ask why I'm being stopped? Miller leans from the passenger side. We've had reports of suspicious activity. You fit the description? Marcus nods slightly. Understood. I'm just visiting family nearby. Sure you are, Kent mutters. Hands where I can see them. Don't move. Marcus freezes, his fingers tightening around the steering wheel. He's no stranger to tension, but this one carries an edge, sharp, baseless, and cold. Officers, he says carefully. I'm reaching for my wallet, slowly. Kent cuts him off. Step out of the vehicle. Marcus's heartbeat steadies. He knows this crossroads too well. The moment a simple stop turns into something else. For a brief second, he considers telling them who he is. But another thought stops him. For months, Marcus Hale, chief of police for Ridgewood City, has been reading complaints from civilians. Reports of harassment, profiling, abuse of power, always the same pattern, the same denials. Now standing in this quiet street, he realizes fate has handed him the one thing his office never could, first-hand evidence. He opens the door slowly, steps out, keeps his movements deliberate. My name is Marcus Hale, he begins, but Kent cuts in sharply, hands on the hood. Spread your legs. Miller's flashlight beams across Marcus's face, blinding him for a moment. The humiliation burns quietly, but he obeys. He feels cold metal under his palms, the weight of their judgment pressing down. What's your business in this neighborhood? Miller asks, voice dripping with suspicion. My sister lives on Brookside Drive, Marcus says calmly. I'm here for dinner. You got any weapons or drugs in the car? Kent barks. No, and I don't consent to a search. Probable cause, Kent smirks. You seem nervous. I'm concerned, Marcus replies, his voice tightening. Concerned about the legitimacy of this stop. Kent doesn't answer. Instead, Miller opens the driver's door and starts searching. Papers rustle. Glove compartment slams. The sound of violation fills the quiet night. Marcus exhales slowly. His badge and his authority means nothing right now. He's just another man being treated as a threat for existing. A wallet slips from his pocket, landing on the pavement with a dull slap. Kent kicks it aside without looking. What's this, huh? Fake ID? Stolen papers? Please, Marcus says, his patience fraying. Just check it. Miller laughs softly. You people always have a story. Across the street, a young woman walking her dog stops. Her phone rises. She begins recording. Marcus catches her eye. Their gaze locks. Silent understanding, silent plea. Kent grabs Marcus's arm, yanking it back. Metal cuffs click around his wrists, biting into skin. Stop resisting! Kent shouts. I'm not resisting, Marcus says firmly. His tone is calm, almost unsettling in its restraint. Blood trickles from the corner of his lip where his face hit the hood. Miller grins. Another one pretending to be calm. They all crack eventually. The street grows quieter, heavier. A neighbor peeks from behind a curtain. Another starts recording from a porch. The audience grows, but no one steps in. And then, in the midst of the chaos, something falls from Marcus's jacket pocket. A small black wallet embossed with gold lettering. It flips open on the pavement. A badge gleams under the streetlight. Chief of Police. Marcus Hale Kent freezes. Miller's smirk fades. The reality of what they've done starts to settle in, cold and irreversible. And before either of them can move, a phone on the ground buzzes to life. A message flashes on the cracked screen. Chief Hale, emergency briefing in 10 minutes. Are you on your way? Kent stares at the phone. The words hit like a thunderclap. What would you do? The narration asks quietly. If you had the power to change everything after being treated like nothing. The two officers exchange terrified glances. The man they humiliated is the one who leads them, and in that moment, the power shifts. Kent's breath catches in his throat as the truth sinks in. His partner Miller stands frozen, eyes darting between the glowing phone and the badge on the pavement. The two of them have just handcuffed their own chief of police. The silence feels heavier than the night air. Marcus stays still, his cheek still pressed against the hood, voice level but cutting through the quiet. Now, officers, would either of you like to explain what reason you had for this arrest? Neither speaks. Miller stammers, we thought, but the words collapse under their own weight. Kent kneels, trembling slightly as he picks up the badge. His reflection shimmers across the polished metal, his face ghost pale.
Chief Hale?
He whispers. Marcus straightens slowly, the movement deliberate and controlled. His wrists are still cuffed, blood lining the skin where metal bit deep. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't have to. Yes, Chief Hale, the same man you accused of not belonging here. The two officers stumble backward, muttering apologies that sound like excuses. Kent fumbles with the keys, trying to undo the cuffs, but his hands shake too much to manage. Marcus watches him, calm and cold. Don't rush, he says quietly. We wouldn't want another mistake. Across the street, the young woman recording hasn't stopped. Her phone stays steady, the red light blinking like truth refusing to die. Marcus flexes his wrists once the cuffs fall away. You've just proven every complaint that's crossed my desk for the last year, he says, his voice low. The profiling, the unnecessary force, the arrogance. Miller tries to recover some authority. Chief, sir, we didn't recognize you. It was dark. We were just following protocol. Marcus turns, the glare of the streetlight outlining his face. Protocol? He repeats. Is protocol to ignore identification? To search without consent? To draw your weapon on someone sitting calmly in their car? Kent's mouth opens, but no answer comes. Marcus steps closer, his tone steady but laced with quiet fury. You called me suspicious because I didn't fit your picture of who belongs here. Tell me, Officer Kent, what exactly does belonging look like to you? No one answers. The night swallows their silence. Inside the patrol car, their radio crackles to life. Unit 19, report your location. Chief Hale has not checked in. Repeat, Chief Hale is unaccounted for. Kent flinches at the sound. He doesn't respond. Miller looks at him, panic starting to crawl into his voice. We're done, he whispers. Marcus turns toward his car. His phone lies cracked on the asphalt, screen glowing faintly with missed calls. He bends down, picks it up, and says calmly, You're not done, not yet. You're about to learn what accountability feels like. He presses the emergency button on his smartwatch. A small vibration confirms the signal has gone through. Somewhere across the city, Assistant Chief Naomi Torres receives the alert. At headquarters, Torres checks the map and feels her heart jolt. He's at Brookside and Cedar, she mutters, grabbing her radio. Dispatch, patch me through to Unit 19 immediately. Back at the scene, Kent's radio blares again, this time louder. Unit 19, this is Assistant Chief Torres. Confirm your status and the status of Chief Hale. Kent hesitates, but Marcus steps forward and takes the radio from his shoulder. His voice is calm, commanding, unmistakable. This is Chief Hale. I've been unlawfully detained and assaulted by officers Kent and Miller. Send backup to Brookside Avenue. The line goes silent for a heartbeat, then Torres's voice returns, sharper now. Understood, Chief. Help is on the way. Kent looks like he's about to faint. Chief, please, he starts, but Marcus raises a hand. Save it. You'll have your chance to speak under oath. Sirens begin to wail in the distance. The blue and red lights grow brighter as multiple patrol cars turn onto the street. The entire neighborhood watches through windows and camera phones. Torres is the first to step out when the cars stop. Her expression is tight, her eyes scanning the scene. The broken phone, the scattered wallet, Marcus's cut lip. Chief, are you hurt? She asks. Nothing serious, Marcus replies. But my dignity took a beating. She turns to Kent and Miller. Body cameras on? She demands. Kent swallows hard. Of course. His hand moves toward the switch. Marcus's voice slices through the tension. Don't even think about it, officer. You try to delete anything and you'll regret it. Kent freezes, hand still hovering over the button. Neighbors are gathered now. Some are whispering, others recording. The truth has already escaped containment. Torres looks at Marcus, understanding passing between them without words. Chief, what are your orders? Marcus looks around. The flashing lights, the fearful faces, the officers who don't know where to stand. Relieve them of duty, he says. Effective immediately. Miller's face twists in disbelief. You can't do that without an internal review. Marcus turns slowly, eyes locked on him. Watch me. The words hang in the air like judgment itself. News of the incident spreads before the night is over. Footage of the confrontation circulates online. Millions of people sharing the same shock, the same outrage. By dawn, every news channel runs the story. Police chief handcuffed by his own officers. At headquarters, tension grips every corridor. Officers whisper in corners. Some defend Kent and Miller, saying it was a mistake. Others hang their heads, ashamed. In his office, Marcus watches the body cam footage in silence. Each frame tightens his jaw. The rough handling, the mocking tone, the casual cruelty. A knock breaks the quiet. Torres steps in with a manila folder. Legal counsel's already reviewing the footage, she says. They're calling it a clear violation of procedure. Marcus doesn't look up. It's more than that, he says. It's a mirror. He clicks to another tab on his computer, one labeled Community Complaints. Dozens of files fill the screen. Each one a name. Each one a story. Each one ignored. He whispers to himself. They'll listen now. Outside, the city stirs. Protesters begin to gather in front of the precinct. Signs rising, voices demanding change. Some shout for justice. Others defend the officers. The divide is visible, raw, alive. And inside his office, Marcus Hale knows this is only the beginning. The question echoing in his mind isn't how it happened. It's what comes next, when the man who enforces the law decides to rewrite it from within. Morning light spills through the blinds of Marcus's office. The city hasn't slept, and neither has he. His desk is covered in files, printouts, and handwritten notes. Every page tells the same story, different faces, same pattern. People stopped, searched, humiliated, then ignored. Torres stands across from him, holding a steaming cup of coffee. You're on every channel, she says quietly. They're calling you a hero. Others say you've humiliated the department. Marcus doesn't respond right away. He stares out the window, watching the crowd gathering outside headquarters. Protest signs sway in the wind. One reads justice for all, another says no one is above the law. He finally speaks. I didn't humiliate the department. I revealed it. A knock interrupts them. Commissioner Dalton, a thick-set man with a politician's practiced smile, steps inside. Chief Hale, he begins, tone slick. We need to discuss damage control. Marcus turns from the window. You mean accountability? Dalton sighs. You're making this bigger than it needs to be. The union's furious. They're saying you're throwing good officers under the bus for optics. Good officers don't handcuff their chief for driving home from dinner, Marcus replies. The commissioner's smile fades. Half the force thinks you're waging a witch hunt. You need to slow down, Alex. Marcus's tone sharpens. The only thing I'm hunting is the truth. And I'm not slowing down. Before Dalton can reply, Torres's phone buzzes. She glances at the screen, frowning. Sir, media crews are here. They want a statement. Marcus nods, his decision already made. They'll get one. But not a soundbite. They'll get the whole story. An hour later, Marcus steps up to the podium in the press room. Cameras flash, microphones crowd forward. The air hums with anticipation. He takes a breath and begins. Yesterday, I experienced what too many citizens live through every day. Being treated as a suspect, not a person. As a police chief, I've reviewed hundreds of complaints about profiling. As a black man, I've now lived it firsthand. Murmurs ripple through the room. Reporters lean closer. I'm not here to condemn every officer, he continues, but I will expose a culture that lets bias hide behind badges. He gestures toward a large screen where photos appear. His bruised wrists, his shattered phone, the screenshots from the body cam footage. Gasps fill the room. The 2 officers involved have been suspended, Marcus says, voice firm. But this goes deeper than 2 people. Effective immediately, I'm launching a department-wide audit of all complaints from the last 3 years. Hands shoot up. Reporters shout questions, but Marcus raises his hand to quiet them. That's not all. Evidence has come to my attention suggesting that within certain precincts, officers were encouraged to profile citizens who looked out of place. That ends today. Commissioner Dalton, standing to the side, shifts uncomfortably. This wasn't part of the prepared remarks. Marcus continues, his tone unwavering. Captain Reynolds, who oversaw those precincts, is suspended pending investigation, and we are creating an independent civilian oversight board with authority to discipline officers. Chaos erupts. Cameras flash faster. Questions overlap. Chief Hale, are you declaring war on your own department? One reporter shouts. Marcus looks straight into the cameras. I'm declaring war on corruption, on fear, on silence. He steps away from the podium, ignoring the shouted follow-ups. The hall buzzes with tension, half applause, half outrage. Later, in the quiet of his office, Torres closes the door behind them. You realize Reynolds won't go quietly, she warns. Marcus nods. I'm counting on that. Across town, in a small cafe, Reynolds sits with 2 union representatives and a lawyer. He's older, sharp-eyed, with the air of a man who's survived too many storms to fear another. He's making me the scapegoat, Reynolds says. After 25 years of service, this is a power play. The union rep, Sullivan, leans forward. We'll say you were following department expectations. No direct orders. He can't prove anything, Reynolds smirks. He doesn't have the guts to take me down personally, but he's wrong. That evening, Marcus receives a message from Torres. Officer Kent wants to talk. Alone. Marcus raises an eyebrow. Without his lawyer? He insisted, Torres says. Said it's important. A few minutes later, Kent steps into Marcus's office. His posture is stiff, his uniform immaculate, but guilt clings to him like a shadow. Sit, Marcus says. Kent hesitates, then sits. He twists his cap in his hand, searching for words. Sir, I came here because I can't keep quiet anymore. Marcus studies him, waiting. Kent's voice cracks slightly. This wasn't just us. It's not new. There's a system behind it. Unspoken rules. We're told to keep certain people out of certain neighborhoods. Not in writing, but we all know what it means. Marcus leans forward. And who gives those rules? Captain Reynolds, Kent says quietly. He calls them community standards. Says it's about keeping order, but everyone knows what he means. Marcus feels his chest tighten. Do you have proof? Kent nods slowly and slides a flash drive across the desk. 6 months of shift briefings. I recorded them. You'll hear it yourself. Marcus stares at the small piece of plastic resting in his palm. Why bring this to me now? Kent's answer is quiet but sincere. Because when I saw your face on that street, I realized what I'd become. My father was a cop. He used to say justice means doing the right thing even when no one's watching. I forgot that. Marcus studies him for a long moment. You understand this will destroy Reynolds? Maybe more, I know, Kent says. But maybe that's what needs to happen. Later that night, Marcus plugs in the flash drive. Voices fill the speakers, briefings from Reynolds, cold, calculated. Be proactive in Ridgewood Heights. Watch for demographic anomalies. We all know who belongs and who doesn't. Marcus presses pause. His hands curl into fists. It's worse than he imagined. He sits back, staring at the ceiling, the city lights flickering through his window. This isn't just about one night anymore. It's about everything that led to it. And tomorrow the reckoning begins. The next morning, the city wakes up to headlines blazing across every screen. Police chief promises full reform after racial profiling incident. Some call Marcus brave, others call him reckless. But no one is ignoring him anymore. At headquarters, the atmosphere is electric. Officers speak in hushed tones as Marcus walks past. Some nod respectfully. Others look away, unsure of what side to stand on. The line between loyalty and justice has never felt thinner. Inside the conference room, Marcus stands before the department's top brass. Charts and data light up the screen behind him. For years, he says, we've buried complaints under the excuse of lack of evidence. Now we have proof. He clicks a button. Reynolds's voice fills the room, cold, confident, unmistakable. Keep certain elements out of the northern precincts. Use your instincts. You know who belongs. The room goes silent. Every officer hears the quiet poison in those words. Marcus looks around. That was your commanding officer, the man you saluted every morning. A few faces harden with shame. Others look like they want to disappear. Commissioner Dalton, sitting at the far end of the table, shifts uncomfortably. Chief, before we burn down the department, let's be sure this isn't taken out of context. Marcus turns to him, unblinking. Context? The context is decades of abuse disguised as protocol. The context is the people we swore to protect who now cross the street when they see our uniform. Torres leans forward. We can't fix what we refuse to face. Dalton exhales, defeated. Fine, do what you have to, but be prepared for blowback. By afternoon, Marcus announces a sweeping reform plan. Mandatory de-escalation training, a civilian oversight board, transparent public records for officer conduct, and neighborhood integration programs. The announcement spreads fast. Within hours, reporters camp outside the precinct. Across town, Reynolds watches the broadcast in his office, rage simmering behind calm eyes. He thinks he can make me the villain, he mutters. His lawyer, Maxwell, Grant, a man known for defending officers in high-profile misconduct cases, leans back in his chair. We'll control the narrative, Grant says smoothly. You're the seasoned officer betrayed by politics. Let the public see that. Reynolds nods, a thin smile creeping onto his face. Then let's make him regret this crusade. 2 days later, Reynolds appears on a morning news program. His uniform is crisp, his medals gleaming. The host begins gently. Captain Reynolds, you've served the city for 25 years. What's your response to these accusations? Reynolds sighs, the picture of weary dignity. I've dedicated my life to keeping this city safe. But in today's climate, good policing is being twisted into racism. We're being punished for doing our jobs. Clips from his interview spread online. Comment sections explode. The city divides even deeper. Marcus watches the broadcast from his office. He doesn't look angry, only resolute. He's building a wall, Torres says quietly. Us versus them. Then we break it down, Marcus replies, brick by brick. Over the next week, the investigation intensifies. Internal Affairs confirms Reynolds deleted dozens of civilian complaints from department servers. Fortunately, Marcus's personal archives, painstakingly kept for years, fill the gaps. When Torres brings him the final report, she lays it on the desk like a loaded weapon. This is enough to end him, she says. Marcus scans the pages. Then we won't stop there. We end the system that made him possible. Meanwhile, the officers involved in Marcus's assault face their own reckoning. Kent cooperates fully, turning over his recordings and written statements. Brooks, however, refuses. We followed procedure, he insists during his hearing. We had reasonable suspicion. Marcus looks directly at him. You had prejudice. That's not suspicion. That's judgment. The board votes unanimously to terminate Brooks's employment. His badge clatters onto the table, a sound that feels final. Outside, community tension turns to movement. Sarah, the young woman who filmed the incident, launches an online campaign called Who Are You Pulling Over? Thousands of people share their stories of unjust stops, Within days, the movement trends nationwide. At City Hall, Marcus meets with Mayor Hill, who paces behind his desk, voice tight with worry. The reforms are dividing the city. Protests every day, counter-protests every night. The budget committee's panicking. Marcus slides a folder across the desk. You're worried about money. These are last year's payouts. 16 settlements for police misconduct. $12 million. The mayor's face pales as he flips through the documents. Why wasn't this public? Because the old system buried it, Marcus says. My reforms will cost less than defending the status quo. The mayor sinks into his chair, the truth dawning. And if the union strikes? Marcus stands. Then we remind them that serving the public means all the public. Word spreads fast. Council chambers fill to capacity as Marcus presents his reform bill. For 5 hours, officials argue. Voices raised, fists slammed. One councilman glares at Marcus. You're handcuffing our officers while criminals walk free. Marcus steps forward, his voice calm but carrying weight. I've worn this badge for 20 years. These reforms aren't anti-police, they're pro-community. They protect the good officers who uphold their oath. Silence falls. Cameras roll. Then the vote begins. 7 in favor, 6 against. The reforms pass. Outside, the air erupts in a mix of cheers and boos. 2 crowds face each other across the plaza, one chanting for accountability, the other waving blue flags for the force. The noise is deafening, raw, and real. Marcus walks between them. Protesters on both sides quiet as he raises his voice. You want different things, but you all want safety. I want that too. Accountability isn't the enemy of safety. It's the path to it. The tension softens slightly. A few cheers break through. That night, Marcus sits in his darkened office, exhausted but unbroken. The city feels like it's standing at the edge of something new, dangerous, uncertain, but necessary. Torres steps in. Reynolds is meeting with his lawyers tomorrow, she says. He's planning to fight back hard. Marcus looks out the window, the city lights shimmering in the distance. Good, he says quietly. Let him come. I'm done fighting shadows. The storm is only beginning, but Marcus Hale is no longer standing in it alone. Rain patters against the windows of City Hall as Marcus enters the chamber for yet another hearing. The day has a strange stillness, like the city is holding its breath. This one isn't about policy or press conferences. It's about justice. Captain Reynolds sits at the defense table, his jaw tight, his lawyer whispering in his ear. The gallery is full. Officers, reporters, citizens. Everyone has come to see how far the reform will go. Marcus takes his seat at the front, posture calm, hands folded. Across the room, Reynolds won't meet his gaze. The chair of the disciplinary board clears her throat. We are here to review the charges against Captain Reynolds. Racial profiling, evidence tampering, and obstruction of departmental policy. Reynolds' lawyer rises first. My client has served with distinction for 25 years. His record speaks for itself. These so-called recordings were obtained illegally and taken out of context. Murmurs ripple through the audience. Marcus remains still, his face unreadable. When it's his turn, he stands and connects the projector to his laptop. Let's talk about context, he says quietly. Reynolds' voice fills the room, echoing from the speakers. Keep certain elements out of Brookview. We know who fits in. We don't need trouble lowering property values. The sound of those words, played aloud before hundreds of witnesses, lands like a hammer. Marcus lets the silence linger. That, he says, is the context. A man with authority telling his officers to judge citizens by color, not conduct. And it wasn't an isolated statement. There are dozens like it, he clicks to the next recording. Reynolds' voice again. If someone looks out of place, there's usually a reason. Don't wait for trouble, stop it first. Reynolds shifts in his chair. His lawyer interrupts, shouting, Objection! That audio is unverified. Marcus raises his hand. Verification has been completed by the city's forensic unit. These are his words. Then Marcus plays the final clip, the one that changed everything. Reynolds, during a closed briefing, laughing as he says, Chief Hale's been pushing soft policies. Maybe if he got stopped once in a while, he'd understand what real policing looks like. The room erupts. Gasps, whispers, outrage. Marcus pauses the recording, his voice low but steady. He got his wish. Reynolds stands abruptly. I was joking, he snaps. You're twisting this to ruin me. Marcus's tone sharpens but doesn't rise. You ruined yourself. I didn't tell you to humiliate innocent people. I didn't tell you to poison the trust between officers and citizens. You did that. The board chair bangs her gavel, calling for order. Enough, Marcus says. Let's hear from the people your orders affected. An elderly woman walks slowly to the stand, guided by a young volunteer. Mrs. Jefferson, Marcus says softly, please share your experience. She adjusts her glasses, her hands trembling. I've lived in Brookview for 40 years. My husband built our house. But every month, officers stop me when I walk to the store. They say I look like I don't belong. Last time, one told me my neighborhood must be losing value. Reynolds stares down at the table. Mrs. Jefferson continues, voice cracking. My son's a doctor. My granddaughter's in college. But to them, I'm just a problem walking down the street. When she finishes, the silence is unbearable. Marcus speaks softly. No one should feel like a stranger in their own home. Reynolds suddenly stands again, fists clenched. I did what I had to do to keep order. You can't run a city on guilt and feelings. Marcus meets his glare. You call it order. I call it oppression. The hearing board votes without hesitation. The result is unanimous. Termination of Captain Reynolds pending criminal investigation. Reynolds' shoulders slump. The man who once commanded entire precincts now looks small, ordinary. As he walks out, some officers avert their eyes. Others stare, stone-faced, knowing something irreversible has happened. Outside, a crowd is waiting. Cameras flash as Marcus steps out into the rain. A reporter shouts, Chief Hale, do you feel vindicated? He pauses before answering. This isn't about vindication. It's about rebuilding trust that should never have been lost, another voice calls out. Captain Reynolds says you've destroyed his life. Your response? Marcus's gaze doesn't waver. He had 25 years to build a legacy of fairness. He chose something else. Later that evening, Marcus sits with Torres in his office. The city skyline glows beyond the window, lights reflecting off wet glass. Torres hands him a folder. Reynolds' supporters are rattled. Some are resigning. Others are trying to rally behind the union. Marcus nods. Change scares people, especially the ones who built their power on fear. Torres leans forward. You think they'll come after you next? He smiles faintly. They already are. His phone buzzes. Officer Kent. Marcus answers. The locker room talk is changing, Kent says. Some guys who backed Reynolds are rethinking everything. A few say they're ashamed, others, not so much. Marcus listens quietly. And what about you? Kent hesitates. I'm staying. I want to help fix this. We can't go back. Marcus nods to himself. Then let's prove what real policing looks like. After the call ends, he looks out over the city again. The rain has stopped. Lights shimmer on the slick streets below. For the first time in months, there's a sense of movement. Slow, fragile, but forward. Across the precinct, officers review the new training modules. Some grumble, others take notes. The words community trust echo through every briefing now, but not everyone is ready to change. In dim bars and private chat groups, small factions of resistance whisper about striking back. Marcus knows it. He feels it. Every reform comes with a price. Still, he believes something is shifting, an awakening. Not just in policy, but in conscience. As the clock ticks toward midnight, he whispers to himself, We've torn down the rot. Now we rebuild the soul. The next morning will bring another challenge, another headline, another test of resolve. But Marcus Hale has already chosen his path, and this time there's no turning back. 6 months later, the city looks different. Patrol cars move through neighborhoods where people used to hide behind curtains. Children wave at passing officers. Shop owners greet them by name. The streets of Brookview are still lined with the same houses, but the silence that once felt heavy has been replaced by cautious conversation. Marcus stands at the back of the police academy auditorium. A new class of recruits is graduating, the most diverse group in the department's history. Young faces, eager eyes, men and women who believe they can serve with integrity. When his name is announced, the applause rises like thunder. He steps to the podium, pausing for a moment as the room quiets. You're joining a department reborn from its own mistakes, he says. The badge on your chest is not a weapon. And it's not a shield to hide behind. It's a promise. To protect every person you meet, not just the ones who look like you. To listen before you speak. To see before you judge. He lets the words hang in the air. Change didn't come easy. It cost people their jobs, their comfort, their certainty. But the only thing more dangerous than change is pretending it isn't needed. In the audience, Officer Kent sits in the second row. He's no longer the man who looked away when injustice happened. When the ceremony ends, he walks up to Marcus, extends a hand and says, "Thank you for not giving up on us." Marcus shakes his hand firmly. "You did the hard part. You chose to change." Outside the academy, the sunlight cuts through a gray sky. Reporters wait, cameras ready, but today Marcus doesn't dodge them. When one asks, "Chief Hale, do you think the department is finally fixed?" He smiles faintly. "No, because justice isn't something you fix. It's something you keep working at every single day." Back at headquarters, the Civilian Oversight Committee meets for its 100th case review. Sarah, the woman who once stood on a sidewalk recording with shaking hands, now sits at the head of the table. "Our job," she says to the group, "isn't revenge. It's restoration, accountability with compassion." Marcus listens quietly at the back, pride flickering in his eyes. After the meeting, Sarah walks over. "6 months ago, I didn't think anyone in uniform cared," she says. "Now we have officers attending community events, helping at schools. People are starting to believe again." "That's how it starts," Marcus replies. "One person believing makes it easier for the next." That night, Marcus drives home through the same streets where everything began. The houses are the same. The trees sway the same way, but the weight in his chest is lighter. He turns onto Maple Lane and slows near a familiar intersection. A patrol car sits at the curb. The officer inside spots Marcus's car, nods, and gives a friendly wave. Marcus waves back. The small moment feels enormous. He parks outside his sister's house. Laughter spills from the windows. Inside, his family greets him with warmth, hugs, and the smell of Sunday dinner. His nephew, now 16, sits at the table and grins. "Uncle Marcus, I got pulled over last week," he says. The room stills. His sister looks up, tension flashing across her face. "It's okay," the boy continues quickly. "The officer explained it was for a broken taillight. He was polite. Called me sir. Told me how to fix it and let me go." Marcus feels the air loosen again. His sister exhales, relief washing over her. Marcus smiles, eyes warm but reflective. "That's how it should be," he says softly. "Respect both ways." After dinner, he steps outside with his brother-in-law. The evening air smells of rain and lilac. The city skyline glows faintly in the distance. "You changed things," his brother-in-law says. Marcus shakes his head. "No, I just opened the door." The people walk through. Later that week, Marcus joins a video conference with reform-minded chiefs from other cities. 12 of them now, from different states, all working toward the same goal. Complaints are down. Community trust is up, one chief reports. But the real win is morale. "Officers are proud again," Marcus nods. "Good policing isn't about control. It's about connection. When you understand the people you serve, the badge means something again." When the call ends, he stands on his balcony, looking out over the city that nearly broke him. Patrol lights blink in the distance, but they don't stir fear anymore. He thinks of the past year, the humiliation, the outrage, the long nights of rebuilding trust one decision at a time. He thinks of Reynolds, now awaiting trial. Of Brooks, who chose bitterness over growth. Of Kent, who found redemption through honesty. Of Sarah, who turned one video into a movement. Every piece mattered. Every voice counted. A quiet knock pulls him from his thoughts. Torres stands in the doorway holding a folder. "FBI report," she says. "They're closing their investigation. No violations found since the reforms began. They called it a model for national policing." Marcus smiles faintly. "Then we're just getting started," she nods. "You know this isn't the end, right? There will always be another challenge." He glances back at the skyline. "Good. That means we're still alive." The city hums below, a living thing learning to breathe differently. For the first time, Marcus feels peace that isn't silence but understanding. He walks to his car, starts the engine, and drives through the night streets. Billboards line the avenue, showing the department's new slogan, "Protecting with respect." Serving with integrity. At a stoplight, a young officer on patrol pulls up beside him. Recognizing the chief, the officer smiles and raises 2 fingers in a salute. Marcus returns it. The light turns green and they drive off in different directions, both carrying the same promise forward. As the city lights fade behind him, Marcus whispers to himself, "Justice isn't a finish line. It's a path we have to walk again and again." And somewhere between the echoes of sirens and the heartbeat of quiet streets, he knows the journey has only just begun.